What is up, everybody? Justin here. I'm back. This time we've got a new stuff update. I mentioned it in the last video. We'd have some new stuff. I've been holding out. I'm waiting on about 5 records that have not shown up yet. But I said, fuck it. I'm going to go ahead and... I've got a nice little stack here, some stuff. And I teased something on Instagram last week that I still have yet to come back to, so I want to show that. Anyway, first we are listening to Nargoth with Amarok. Of course, Nargoth is a black metal band. They're from Germany. When I first got into kind of obscure underground black metal, I guess you could say that all black metal was obscure and underground, but when I really got deep into black metal around 2002, Nargoth was one of the first bands I discovered. And I've always been a fan up to a point. I fell off with Nargoth way before it came out that he had kind of faked the beginning of the band and said that stuff had come out way before it ever did, but regardless, this early material, the late 90s material, Amarok, the Rasluka releases, Geblit de Regens, even Black Metal is Krieg, all that shit fucking rules. And it's Nargoth's unique. They have a kind of a distinct sound. It's grim, kind of melancholic black metal. There's subtle keyboards in it. But then you look at material like the Geblit des Regens material, which is these long, slow, atmospheric black metal songs. That's my favorite material. But Amarok, this tape I've had forever. Came out on Old Legend Productions. It's a really nice J-card, professionally printed, professional tape. It's really nice. But this material is just really grim, cold, kind of spiteful black metal, and I like it. But I haven't kept up with Nargoth in years and years and years. Guy's kind of a weirdo, but I want to say the Pro Satanica Shooting Angels record came out, and I wasn't a fan at all of that style of material, and I just quit listening. So anyway, into the stack here of new stuff. I'm going to start with tapes. I've got several new tapes. I talked about this one recently, Disgorge Forensic. I did the layout for this cassette release and the new LP release, which are coming out. Of course, Forensic, early Disgorge Mexico album. Just the sickest gore grind you have ever heard. Just really pestilent sounding death metal. And I've said before that if Disgorge Mexico to me is like the war metal of gore grind. They have that same kind of like just pummeling, atmosphere. But Forensic is just the sickest of the sick. I did an all-new layout. We used the original photo from the original release, and then these kind of gory morgue photos for the inside. I made a collage there. This is a pro release. Parasitic Records did it. The LP should be out like any day now. Red Shells. They came out really fucking nice, but you can snag this from Parasitic Records. I'll put a link below. Just a nasty, nasty fucking death metal band. So, speaking of black metal, in with Nargoth, we have Judas Iscariot of Great Eternity. I mentioned this in the last video. I was listening to it. I'm only going to touch on it real quick. Of Great Eternity is their third record. So here's the thing about Judas Iscariot. Of Great Eternity, Heaven in Flames, Distant and Solitary Night, and one more in there, were all recorded in like a year's time. and they got released out of order. I want to say that like Of Great Eternity was recorded after the one that came out after it. But Andrew Harris was really, really prolific then, around that time, you know, late 90s, when he was recording this stuff. But for years, this was the hardest one to find. This tape came out a couple years ago, and I mentioned in the last video, I wasn't sure if it was legit. So here's the thing. Elegy Records did this. And it's kind of the same thing that's happening with the Moribund reissues and Ascension Monuments. These people aren't getting permission from Andrew Harris. They're getting permission from the labels that hold the releasing rights to it. So it's a loophole that, like, the label that owns the licensing is saying, yeah, you can license it and release it. It doesn't matter what Andrew Harris says. He doesn't own the licensing rights. So it's this kind of like, they're getting permission, but they're not getting permission type deal. Like, Relapse Records owns the CD rights to Father Befouled's second album. You know, fucking Jackleg Records from China could hit them up and say, we want to release that, we'll pay the licensing fee, and they could release it. And I may or may not even be contacted. But I own the LP licensing rights and the cassette licensing rights. So if someone releases that and they haven't gone through me, then I can go after them. But hey, you want to release that on LP or tape? Come see your boy. I'm all for it. The tape sold out long ago, the LP sold out long ago, and the LP version came out like shit, so I'd love to have it repressed. Anyway, Judas Iscariot, Of Great Eternity. I'm going to get into this more in the Judas Iscariot video section of the CD collection coming up soon. But one of my absolute favorite black metal, my number one favorite black metal band of all time. And I mention them in the same breath as Nargoth because the second of the two Judas Iscariot shows ever, Can Wolf of Nargoth played bass. So, then I think that I mentioned getting Hyperdontia's record, Nexus of Teeth, when it came out. I was listening to it in the background, but I never went into purchasing it. I bought it and Nespith together by Demilich. So Hyperdontia is a new death metal band. They are on the tip of everybody's tongue lately, and with good reason. There's so many, there's been this boon of death metal, of old school death metal lately. And a lot of it, I'm not hearing what people are hyping. I'm just not feeling it. But this one, man, Hyperdontia, Nexus of Teeth, fucking rules. It sounds like this just warped brainchild of Tampa Bay death metal and Finnish death metal and incantation. It's just fucking sick. I opted to get the cassette because I was broke when it came out and I didn't want to buy the LP. And the cassette was cheap. And I also have the demo on cassette. This came out on Extremely Rotten Productions, which is David, the singer. It's his label. And I cannot praise this record enough, man. Being kind of peers of this band, we're both dudes that played death metal in 2018. I listen to this and I'm inspired. I'm inspired to write fucking nastier riffs. And this will be at the very, very top of my end of the year list this year. That I may make a video about, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not a review channel. I don't really cover like up-to-date new stuff. I only cover shit that I buy, but we'll see. Next, Demilich, Nespith. I talked at length about Demilich. Demilich. I don't know. I heard Auntie Bowman pronounce it 3 different ways. So, I bought this original Pavement Music cassette back in like 1998 or something. It was 99 cents at Camelot Records in the mall where I grew up. And I just said, ooh, that looks like death metal. Took it home, could not wrap my head around how just gurgly the vocals were and how obtuse the riffing was. It was not the death metal that I was used to at 16 years old. So it took me years of going back and back and back and listening to this before it finally clicked with me. And then I got to see them earlier this year, and they were fucking amazing. So I still have my Demilich Nesmith tape, but I have the case and the cover. I can't find the fucking cassette tape. So when this got reissued by Extremely Rotten, I grabbed it the same time that I grabbed the Hyperdontia. And it's killer, man. This is a killer reissue. It sounds fucking awesome. Professional tape. Really, really fucking cool looking. I love this album. It's one of those bands that they've been hyped for 2 decades off of one album, but with reason, man. It fucking rules. So then, a couple weeks ago, there was a metal fest here in Atlanta. It was the second incarnation of it. So second year, it's called Mass Destruction Metal Fest. 2 buddies of mine put it on. One being Amos Rifkin. Amos is the now current drummer of Father Befouled and Coffination. He is a good buddy of mine, and he's a fucking sick drummer. And he's doing fantastic things with our band. So him and our buddy Cody, MDMF is their baby. It's their brainchild they put together. And I went this year and Faith Extractor played. So Faith Extractor is a death metal band from Kentucky. I think they're from like Louisville. I don't remember all of a sudden. But they've been around for a long time. And the main dude behind Faith Extractor is Ash Thomas. And Ash was in Estuary of Calamity. Was a death metal band. Eventually became Estuary. And then ended, and he started Faith Extractor. I've always been a little leery of their name. I thought it was kind of weird. The portmanteau of the 2 words, and you drop the E. I thought it was kind of weird, but it makes total sense looking at the lyrics and the thematics. And Faith Extractor, it sounds like a creepy horror sci-fi movie from the 80s when I look at it now. And that's kind of the style of death metal that they play. So, I've known Ash for a few years. I met him at a fest that we played several years ago, and after we played, he came up and he said, "Hey, man, you guys were great. My name is Ash." And I was like, "Well, I know who you are. You know, I've listened to Estuary of Calamity for fucking years." And we hung out, and then we played MDF like a month later, and he was there too. So I keep running across him. Ash is also in Surgical with my buddy Billy and Vanessa. And I've done artwork and layout stuff for them. So it's all kind of coming full circle. So I got a chance to see Ash's band. So I didn't know what he did in this band, but they get up there and they start playing, and it's him and a bass player. And it's just this really fucking crushing, like, riffy, old school death metal. And they are fucking killing it. And they get a few songs in, and I realize that there's no drummer. There's just we're playing a fest, so there's a stage kit. There's always a kit on the stage. And every drummer throughout the night plays the same kit. And I noticed there's no one at the kit. And I realized they're playing to pre-recorded drum tracks. Which, you know, Father Befouled's first show ever, we did that. I plugged my laptop into the PA and played to our drum tracks. Because we didn't have a live drummer at the time. So they play, they fucking kill it. Ash was playing guitar and singing. So I started talking to him after the show, and it turns out, I never knew this, Ash is the drummer in this band. And when they would play live, he would play the drums and sing. Well, they lost their guitar player. But Ash writes the songs. So he dumped all his songs to, you know, like an MP3 player, and all the drums, and practiced playing the guitar, and went up there and fucking nailed playing the guitar and singing when that's not his main role in the band, and you would have never known. But I immediately went to their booth and picked up these 2 tapes. Raising the World of Myth and Proverbial Lambs to the Ultimate Slaughter. Now, unless I'm mistaken, this is their most recent full-length, and this is a killer issue on Morbid Records. Nice, big, full-color J-card. Professionally printed, professional tapes. And I listened to this the other night a couple times, and it's just, man, it's killer. Just like they sounded live, just killer like 90s death metal from someone who was from 90s death metal. And then this record, I want to say, was a demo. It was either a demo or their first full-length. No, wait. This was recorded in 2017, and this was recorded in 2007. Okay, I got it backwards. This one is the early material, and Proverbial Lambs is the most recent full length. And Zdinka Prado, she's the bass player. I couldn't remember her name for a second. And they were so fucking awesome. But this was also, though this came out on Ostenticized Records this year. So Faith Extractor, man, fucking killer shit. I will link it down below. So we're going to get into some CDs and then a couple records. Alright, I talked at length about Horna several videos ago. That same week, I went and bought 2 Horna CDs I didn't have. Hingen Tulit and Ania Yosa. Hingen Tulit's a full-length that came out like 2016. It's a little rawer, kind of like in-your-face Horna songs. It reminds me of the live Horna set when I saw them about 10 years ago. But that painting is so fucking killer. And if I could track that artist down, I might get him to do something for one of my bands. But it is really, really, I love that painting. Fucking killer release. This is a little rawer, a little, you know, kind of virulent sounding Horna. But Horna's a band, they've got so many releases, they kind of run the gamut of their sound. But, I don't think you can go wrong with any Horna release. And then Ania Yosa came out about 10 years ago, and it is 4 long, really melancholic songs. And if I remember correctly, when this came out, it was recorded by Shawtrog and the singer alone. And it was kind of an offshoot of Horna's regular practicing and recording, and they just banged out these 4 songs as an aside to everything else. But it's really, really like grim, melancholy, depressive sounding Horna. It sounds like a different band, but it still sounds like Horna, if that makes sense. And both of these came out on World Terror Committee. So I love Horna. Love Horna. Then I talked about Helcaraxa at length, probably around the same time I did Horna. And Jesse, who watches my videos and comments all the time, immediately hit me up and sent me their most recent full length, The Last Battle. And I dropped it and busted the jewel case. But I gushed over how much I love Helcaraxa, and The Last Battle is no different. It is just fucking phenomenal, just triumphant, kind of Viking, pagan, Tolkien, crushing death metal, somewhere between Bolt Thrower and Unleashed. Just fucking killer, unhinged, killer, fucking riffy, strong death metal. And thank you, Jesse, for sending that to me. So then, a couple videos ago, I talked about Avulsion. Avulsion also played MDMF, and it was their first show in 12 years. They're a local Atlanta band. If any of you are familiar with Deathgasm Records, their singer, Evan, is the head honcho behind Deathgasm, and they played, and it was just, I mean, pulverizing, old school, like mid-paced, just stomp you in the fucking guts death metal. And I immediately went to the booth and bought both of these from Evan. I was so stoked that he had both of their releases. These are both reissues, one on Solar Razor Records and one on Tribulation Productions. They've both come out semi-recently in the last few years. Dimensions of Darkness was their first full-length. It was recorded in like 95. It's got a couple demo tracks on it. And then Indoctrination into the Cult of Death is their second full-length, and it is produced much better. But it still sounds just fucking incredible. I mean, just perfect old death metal, just rotting, just fucking obscure death metal. And then this show, Monstrosity, Unblessed, and Avulsion right there, I was at that in 2000. It was awesome. So, please go check out Avulsion and buy these albums. Okay, I bought a couple things from Dive Bomb Records, which years ago, Dive Bomb Records was Tribulation Records. They were like, or no, not Tribulation, Tribunal Records. And they were like a hardcore label, and now they're like a heavy metal label. But I went specifically to buy this. Iron Flame, Tales of Splendor and Sorrow. So Iron Flame is an old school heavy metal band. It's one guy, Andrew DeCagna. And I heard the first album several weeks ago, and I liked it. I listened to it at work while I was doing something. And then I got a notification that the new one had come out. And I put it on, and I mean, halfway into the first song, I was sold. I was like, I have to buy this. And it's somewhere between, like, old Queensryche and Pharaoh and, you know, like, Screaming for Vengeance era Judas Priest. It's just fucking killer, just riffy, heraldic heavy metal. But the fact that Andrew does everything just blows me away. I mean, because everything's great. The riffs and the singing and the drumming, it's all fucking perfect. But if you like this kind of like melodic, old school heavy metal, man, you cannot go wrong with this fucking album. It is so sick. It's also has shot to the top of my year-end list. Cannot recommend it enough. Then, while I was on that site, so who else does this? You can't buy one thing. When I go to a website to buy something, it's hard for me to buy one release. You know, usually like you can get a couple of CDs for the same shipping cost, so I always look for something else. Well, going through Dive Bomb Records distro, I saw this. Nightingales, Ashes, and Ends. I will get into Nightingales in the CD collection soon, but Nightingales is an old favorite of mine. And Mike Seatown turned me on to them, you know, 18, 19 years ago. But they're a German band that plays, you know, kind of Swedish melodic death metal. But no other band sounds like Nightingales. The way that they construct riffs and their weird sense of melody, like they're melodious and harmonious, but they find these just crazy patterns. But immediately you know that it is a Nightingales riff. For years and years and years, they had the same singer, Bjorn Goobs, and he left right before the last album came out, which I can't remember the name of, and I don't have a copy of it yet. And he wasn't on the original demo. But Ashes and Ends is a collection of stuff across their entire career. I mean, they've been around over 20 years now. It is the, let me see, the Sylph-like release. It was an EP from 95. It's 5 songs. And then there's a 10-year release when once they had been around. They recorded like a demo once they'd been around for 10 years. And then a promo from 2008 that I don't think was ever released. A couple of covers and bonus tracks, and then some pre-production demos from Thunder Beast, which was their second or third album. And Thunder Beast is just fucking sick. And then, so there's like 20 songs on here, and it kind of spans the entire career of the band. But it's just, if you're a Nightingales fan, it's a nice little way to fill in some gaps with their sound. If you've never heard them, I probably wouldn't start here. I would start with Thunder Beast, or if you want to go way back when they were super melodic and wore puffy shirts, I would get their first album. But if you like melodic Swedish-style death metal, check out Nightingales. Okay, that's it for the CDs and the tapes. We've got a few records, and we are running crazy on time here. First, Mike talked about this recently. This is Henry Derrick Ellis, The Devil Is My Friend. So, Henry is an old friend of me and Mike's. Mike's known him a lot longer than I have, but I want to say that me and Henry met in like 2001 or something. But he was the mastermind behind Lilitu, which was an old kind of melodic, emotional death metal band from here in Atlanta years and years ago. And then he was in Blood Promise, who kind of did the hymn thing, and they were fucking amazing at it. And I wish that, like, if the right, gears had turned, they would have been fucking huge, because they had the sound there. And then he now is in Act of Defiance, thrash metal band with I can't remember the guy's name from Megadeth, but this is his solo record. And knowing Henry and knowing how eclectic his tastes are, this record, what little bit I've heard, so I just opened this today. Knowing how eclectic his tastes are, I know that he has put so much of his psyche into this. And there's a vast cross-section of influences, but the sound of this is a look inside of his head, and I think it's rad. But I joined Lilitu probably 10 years ago. He hit me up and he said, hey, Lilitu had been dormant for a long time, and he said, I really want to get it going again. I want to take it in a kind of a more black metal direction. So he came to my house for a weekend, and we sat and wrote and recorded one song that, listening back to it now, I really like what it was. It was this weird, like, Emperor, Deathspell, Omega kind of meld. I played bass and sang on it and programmed all the drums because we didn't have a drummer, and he wrote and recorded all the guitars. And I've still got a copy of it somewhere, but I really, really, really liked it. But it just, and then, we never could get back together and do any more, and then he moved to LA shortly after that, and he's been there ever since. But I cannot wait to delve into this. It's kind of like a Southern Gothic Americana record. Look, Southern Gothic Americana barn rock. There you go. But I cannot wait to listen to this. So shout out to Henry for sending it to me, and I owe him a Father Befouled record, which I got to get in the mail. So I'm going to link this below. If you like what you hear, it's not metal, be warned, but go check it out. It's going to be awesome. Okay. I stumbled into a gold mine the other day. And, ooh, wait, hold on. I also got a letter, a note. Hey, Justin, hope you enjoy. Let me know what you think. All the best. Henry. That's awesome. So shout out to him. I haven't seen him forever. I stumbled onto a gold mine the other day. There is a store in my town, not in Atlanta, but in my little suburb town that I live in outside of Atlanta, that is like a media store. And they sell comic books and DVDs and CDs and records and VHS tapes and a little bit of everything. And from the outside and from their advertisements, it looks like a flea market. It looks like the type of place that's going to be full of junk. And it's going to be full of, you know, old shitty classical and gospel records that nobody fucking cares about. But I noticed one day they had a Facebook post or Instagram or something. It was a picture of the store, and on the wall was a Metallica record, like Ride the Lightning or something. And then someone mentioned to me that they actually have a good selection of hard rock. So I went and checked it out. And I walked in, and the first thing I see is this. First press, Appetite for Destruction. So my last new stuff video, I talked about how I had bought a brand new remaster repress of this. This really nice gatefold edition with a slipcover. It's awesome. The remaster sounds incredible. So this is the original press. #1 vinyl pressing of Appetite for Destruction. And a lot of you may not know, this was the original artwork. This painting is called Appetite for Destruction. And it was banned because it's very, very brutal. The story is that this woman has been raped by this robot, and then this robot is coming in to take him out. But it was released, it was limited, it got yanked, and then they put out the more famous version with the cross on it. So this version is beat to hell. There are bends and, you know, shelf wear. The spine is intact but worn. And here's what's cool about these old records is the title is on the top too. I don't know if that'll focus, but it's beat to hell. And here's the thing, there's no inner sleeve. These originally had an inner sleeve with the lyrics and credits. It's just black vinyl. It's not in the best condition. I listened to it the other day and it sounded okay. It was kind of poppy and crackly, but it was definitely listenable. I paid a lot for this record, and they had, what even blows my mind even more, is they had 3 copies of it. But I had to have one, and this was the second most expensive. There was one in worse shape, and then there was one that was in pretty pristine shape, and it still had the inner sleeve. I didn't buy this so I can listen to it all the time and pull out the inner sleeve. This is like my 4th version of this album. It's my 3rd one. It's my 5th version of this album. I have it on CD tape, and this is my 3rd vinyl copy. I bought this it's my favorite album of all time. It's #1. This album is the reason I play guitar. It's the reason I'm a musician. It's the reason I'm kind of an asshole. It's just, I mean, nothing will ever top this record. But I bought it because it was there and I had to have it. The price tag here, you'll see. If that'll focus, it won't focus. $60. And I was not paying $60 for it. I talked them down to $40. And I was very comfortable paying $40 for this. It's just, you know, there's certain things that you want to have. Then I got on Discogs, and I could get that for less. I could also get these for less than what I paid for them. But there is something about going into a record store, not knowing what you're going to find, and stumbling into a gold mine. So, Iron Maiden, they had every Iron Maiden 12-inch ever made. It seemed like. Probably, I mean, a couple dozen. And I have both of these on 7-inch. So these originally came out on 7 inches. Then they came out on 12 inches. And then they were reissued a couple years ago on 7 inches again. And I bought the reissues. But Wasted Years is my favorite Iron Maiden song of all time. It's the second song off of Somewhere in Time. And then Aces High is another favorite. You know, everybody knows Aces High. And just the most killer artwork. I paid, you know, more than I could get these for on Discogs. But you can get anything you want on Discogs, anytime you want. There's something about walking into the record store and finding this stuff in the wild. Just completely unassuming. And if I had had several $100s, I would have walked out with a lot more. But I spent $90 on 3 records, which is crazy. But I just, you know, and I'm going to go back a little bit at a time and buy more. They had a bunch of Iron Maiden records, a bunch of Metallica records, a lot of rare singles and things, lots of Judas Priest, lots of kind of 80s stuff that toes the line between hard rock and heavy metal. But then they also had an original press of Integrity's second album, which I only have a reissue of it, but they wanted $80 for that, which is the high end of Discogs price, but I think I can talk them down. But it was too cool, man, just walking in and seeing these just incredible old records from bands that, you know, I fucking love. So I'm definitely going to be going back and pilfering through their stuff. This guy has been buying collections of records through the years, and they said he has the women who were working there said that he has over 100,000 records, and that was only a small portion of what is available. So really cool. Anyway, that's it. This one has ran really long. I'm going to try to edit it down. Let's talk about this stuff, and I got more new stuff coming. So let's comment, like, subscribe, ring the bell, and I'll talk to you guys later.